Okay, in the interest of time, we will go ahead and get started. So I want to say, oh, coming in from South Carolina. Well, welcome. Welcome, Laurel. Great to have you here. My name is Susan Holtzman. I am the president and CEO of NAMI, Miami-Dade County. We are the Miami-Dade and Monroe County affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, one of over 650 affiliates across the country, but always our online programs are open to everyone. So welcome from wherever you're at. Um, this evening we have a great topic. This is one of our favorites because this is really, really important information for family members. And so I'm just going to start off by asking what you learned tonight, please share because it's important information and people need to know about it. So share it with people you know that may need this information. So I'm very pleased to introduce tonight, let me get my introduction up, John Finch. John serves as the director of the state of Florida's ABLE program, Able United. John helped launch Able United in 2016 and continues to manage its success, enrolling over 12,000 Floridians, helping them save more than $110 million. John also serves as the vice chair for the ABLE Savings Plan Network, a network comprised of ABLE program administrators around the country. Previously, he served 10 years in the disability field at the ARC of Florida, advocating for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And John does not reside here in Miami with us. He's in Tallahassee with his wife and three active little boys. So welcome, John. Can't wait to hear what you have to say, and then we'll certainly have time at the end for questions.
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to your group and wherever you're at across not only Florida, but it's great that you guys have representation outside of Florida as well. But the honor is all mine. So thank you so much for letting me come and talk about ABLE accounts. Well, thank you all so much. And I know typically when there's questions that you have, just feel free to put them into the chat. We'll answer them as we go along, or we'll save them all for the end as well. And have a great discussion on ABLE accounts, ABLE United 101. What are these accounts? Why might you be interested in participate or opening one for you or a family member? And then hopefully, I know if you're out of state, this is still applicable because all of us ABLE programs have to follow the same federal guidelines, but there are some unique state rules as well. Let's get started. So, high level, this is what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to kind of look about why this program exists in the first place, looking at the history and legislation that brought it possible. We'll look at who's actually eligible to have one of these accounts. And then we'll kind of talk about the specifics of the account, what it looks like, and what those benefits are throughout, right? And one of the big benefits is being able to shelter money in this account and not impact SSI, Medicaid, or other public benefit type programs. And so we'll deep dive that. And then we'll leave time for your questions, but we also have some frequently asked questions that we'll go through as well. So feel free to input your information or your questions you have in the chat box as we go along as well. So let's talk a little bit about the history and legislation of why this program exists and how it all started. Um, and it started way back almost 20 plus years ago when a group of parents and family members wanted to start saving for their child without negatively impacting the public benefits they may receive in the future. And so these group of parents said, hey, we should do something about it. And it took them about 10 years of advocacy and grassroots movements on the federal level to finally pass the Achieving a Better Life Experience Act back in 2014. And what this act did was allow states to create these unique tax advantage savings and investment accounts specifically for the disability community, which has been awesome because it really allows individuals to start saving, start putting money aside, and not negatively impacting their benefits. So pretty amazing overall on what it does. And each state had to enact its own legislation. So Florida passed the Florida ABLE Act. We titled our program here in the state of Florida as ABLE United. And really, the goal of this account and what we see is taking place is it's more than just saving. It's really investing for a better life, and it allows people to start saving, putting money aside, using it when they need to pay for a variety of expenses. And what's cool is this account gives Floridians or whatever able program you're in, if you're in your state, your different states able program, a way to start saving, have that money grow tax free, and not fear jeopardizing or losing public benefit eligibility. And so when we think of just high level about able accounts, able United, uh, ooh, I got a chat box. Oh no, it has to do. Oh, the walk's coming up. Yeah, I like it. Put it in there. So high level, just when this program passed, it really started, as I mentioned, around a round table, a dining room table with some parents, and Jen Sikora and her son Sean were at that dining room table. She started advocating for the ABLE legislation back when Sean was 3 years old. And it took several years, and finally it passed when I think he turned 13. He's 21 now, I believe. So it took a long while for him, for her to get it passed. But when it passed, it really did open who would actually be eligible to use this account. So, although it started primarily in the Down syndrome and autism community, it really expanded to allow other groups of eligible individuals to qualify as well for this account. And that includes Alicia, who wanted to start saving for a wheelchair accessible vehicle without jeopardizing her Medicaid. And so, with an able account, she's able to actually stockpile those funds, have family and friends help her do that, and not worry about losing that public benefit. Or maybe it's somebody that might not even be on public benefits. So Elliot and Sandy here. Elliot has an Able account. He likes to use it to have excess funds from his DJing side job, puts it in there, has it grow free, make his money work for him, and his mom can help support him in that. And so the good thing is, if Elliot ever there was a situation where he needed to start receiving SSI or get on Medicaid, he knows that the money that he saved so far in his Able account isn't going to impact his eligibility. As I mentioned, the state of Florida passed the Florida ABLE Act, and so they had to decide who in the state is going to manage this account. And so it was decided that, hey, we're going to go ahead and put this under the Florida Prepaid program, which is the Florida Prepaid College Board manages kind of two primary vehicles, the prepaid plan and a college savings and investment account. So if you've heard of 529 college savings investment accounts, Florida Prepaid manages those. They've been around since the 80s. They've helped millions of families save for higher education, which is pretty amazing. And so, that same entity that's been around helping families save millions of dollars and helping millions of families uh, now runs the ABLE program, which is ABLE United. So we're what they call a direct support organization. High level, basically is it's a nonprofit that's run by the state. So I have a board that I report to, and that's how we're kind of set up here in the state. Now each state's a little bit different. Some states have different agencies running it, so each state's a little unique on how they're running. But primarily, whoever's running their 529 plan for the state is typically running their ABLE program. And so, like I mentioned here in Florida, it is Florida Prepaid managing our ABLE program. All right, so let's talk a little bit on eligibility and who's able to actually have one of these accounts. And let's dive into that because there are some rules that have changed more recently that could be appropriate, maybe appropriate for you or a loved one. So, high level, two of these requirements are true for all ABLE programs. The one that's unique to Florida is the Florida residency requirement. So, when these legislation first passed, back in 2014, there was a residency requirement. Then they quickly removed that because some states were gonna take a while to launch their program, so they didn't want to negatively impact people. However, the way we're set up here in Florida, we have an appropriation to run this, and so we really want to make this Florida focused, and so we're only open to Florida residents at the time they apply. And so we always encourage people, hey, you can if you're a Florida resident, you open the ABLE account, and you move out of the state, you could take it with you, but we always encourage people to check out their state's ABLE program because there are some unique options for different residents. The other two are true for all ABLE programs. One is that the diagnosis or disability to qualify for this account has to have an onset prior to age 46. Doesn't matter the current age, but that diagnosis onset had to occur prior to age 46. And that's new for this year. So starting January of this year, it was previously 26. Now it got moved up to 46. So to be eligible, they do have to have that diagnosis. And the diagnosis on the last part there has to be severe. So this isn't just necessarily something that's going to go away in 2 to 3 years. This is something that's going to last a lifetime. And so individuals receiving SSI or SSDI automatically meet that severity level. If they don't, they have to basically attest that they meet that qualification, that they have diagnosis paperwork from a doctor, or we have a physician's certificate on our website that people can have signed off. But basically, it's a physical or mental impairment with marked and severe functional limitations that's impacting kind of their daily living. So keep that in mind. All right. So the types of disabilities, just so as I mentioned, since this is a tax advantage account, the IRS actually oversees this program, and so we did get some guidance on types of disabilities that would qualify. So developmental, intellectual, psychiatric, nervous. There's even some others, but you can see some of these common diagnoses. It just has to meet the severity of it. So it could be PTSD, it could be uh, you know. Schizophrenia, major depressive disorder. It could be an intellectual disability, and blindness and deafness. And so, uh, historically, we had a lot of people that qualified at birth. But now, thanks to this age adjustment that took place this year, we're seeing a lot more psychiatric, a lot more other categories of individuals starting to qualify. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to present to your group, because now we're seeing since this is some people may have a later in life diagnosis, and now they'll be able to qualify for an ABLE account. What's also unique about the ABLE account is who actually owns it. So the owner of the account is the individual with a disability. They are not only the beneficiary of the account, but they actually own the account as well. So the individual with the disability, they're the beneficiary, they're the owner of the account. Now somebody else can manage it on their behalf. So maybe they can, if they're an adult and they just don't want to manage a financial account, they can choose somebody to manage it on their behalf. If it's a minor, then somebody else, like a parent, would have to manage it. But a person that manages this account, they have basically the authorized signatory on the account. We typically call this person an authorized legal representative, or ALR for short. But this person that serves in that account could be a legal guardian, power of attorney, parent, spouse, sibling, grandparent, and even if somebody's receiving Social Security funds like SSI or retirement benefits or SSDI, and they have somebody that's managing it, that rep payee, they could actually set up and manage this account on their behalf as well. So a lot of different ways that they can manage it. So even if you have somebody managing the account, it's still going to go back to the beneficiary actually owns it. You could just have somebody manage it. What's something else we launched recently was you could have basically one manager, but you could also add additional roles. So if you had like two parents, each one to have access to the account, there's a way to set that up as well. So that's one of our new features. Let's look at the account itself, what it looks like. So as I mentioned, this is a state-run program, so we're not tied to a bank. So it's not like you're going to walk into your local bank and set up an ABLE account. They probably won't know what you're talking about. So each state, primarily you're going to enroll online. Ours here in Florida is ableunited.com. That's where you would go to get started. This is our new landing page. So we launched a brand new website to coincide with the Age Adjustment Act. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on it, but hopefully it flows well. You can kind of learn more about this account, but also it's where you would go to log in. One thing you would notice on the screen is that $50 to enroll. So that's something that we kind of launched at the beginning of this year that's going to end April 30th. Basically, all new accounts that open up by April 30th and contribute a minimum $25 to get their account started, we'll put in $50 to help them go on their way to start saving. So just kind of a little incentive program we have to hopefully get more individuals into accounts, because we really think that it's going to help people have a strong financial future. All right. So as I mentioned, this is a typical financial investment savings account. You're going to need some information to get started. We use an email address as a login. So You'll verify your email address. From there, you're going to enter the beneficiary's information, date of birth, address, social. If you're managing this on behalf of somebody, that ALR role will need your information as well for verification purposes. We got to verify an identity of who's managing the account. So whether that be the beneficiary managing it themselves or this ALR. So you have to go through what we call PLAD to verify social, date of birth. You may have to, submit a picture of your ID card, just depending on what information is available. Uh, you'll go through the eligibility requirements. As we mentioned, those broad buckets, those 7 categories of disabilities. You select one, you select and confirm that your disability either was before 26 or between 26 and 46, and that you're either eligible because you're on SSI, SSDI, or you self-certify. Once you get through that portion, the next is to actually put funds into the account. That's the final part to get it established. There is a minimum $25 that you need to contribute to your account to get started. And with that, you have to select where that $25 go. The cool thing is once the account is set up, anybody can put money into the account. So if the beneficiary is working, they can put some of their pay into the account. If they have family and friends that want to assist, they can put money into the account. It can come from anybody. So it's they use the word person, so that could be an organization, it could be grandparents, it could be a friend down the street, or it could be your own money. So this is a variety of money. Now it is restricted, so it is to 20,000 per calendar year can go in this account from all sources. So for example, if you're working a full-time job making 40, $50,000, you couldn't put your whole paycheck into an ABLE account. It's limited to 20,000 from all sources. So keep that in mind in your planning and saving. There are other ways to get funds into the account. You can do a rollover from a 529 plan. If we see some individuals with leftover Social Security funds, they'll put excess funds in here to keep them under a certain threshold so they can keep their benefits. One important thing to know is ABLE accounts, although we protect public benefits as a resource or an asset, we don't shelter income. So just because somebody deposits money in here through earnings or through unearned income, for example, like child support, that still could could impact their Medicaid or SSI benefits. What's also unique is there's this able to work, some additional flexibility where if somebody is working and not saving through a work sponsor retirement plan, they can actually contribute above that $20,000 limit and kind of make your able account your retirement account. So where does that money actually go? We get that question quite a bit. Alexander, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So you mentioned that whatever monies that they put into the ABLE account, it would still be recognized as income. So does this mean that, my understanding SSA, if you have over $2,000 in a bank account or considered income, that your benefits may be at risk to be stopped? Would this kind of be the same thing?
So able accounts, the money in it doesn't count towards that $2,000 resource limit.
Great. Okay.
But the income, so if you were like, hey, I'm depositing a check in here that, and if
I
it's like
see.
I made $1,000, that $1,000 still counts as earnings. And
Got it.
so, because usually, and when we get to the public benefits, we'll talk a little bit more about because they look at 2 things, how much you're making and then how much you're sitting on in the bank. And the money in this account doesn't count towards that resource or the money you have in the bank.
Thank you.
Um, yes, and so the question on the contribution, yeah. So when you put money into the ABLE account, there's multiple ways. Typically, people will connect a bank account, and then from there they will transfer it via ACH. You can also send in a check, and then we also have a unique gifting page that you'll get that you can share with family and friends, and they can contribute via ACH online. So that's typically how individuals get funds into the account. All right. Good questions. So where does that money actually go once you put it into the account? There's kind of basically 2 options. Our most popular option is our pre-designed portfolio options. These are risk-based investments where, it's conservative moderate growth. The more you are towards growth, the riskier it is, which means there's more volatility. It's invested more into the market. So, for example, the growth is 55% U.S. stock, while the conservative is only 30% U.S. stock. So that's kind of the big difference in there. So those are very already diversified mutual fund type of products that are broad that you can invest in. Or you can create your own portfolio. Maybe you don't want to invest, you want to just save. So we have an FDIC savings fund or a money market fund. The FDIC savings pays a small interest payment each month. The money market is slightly invested, so it does have a little bit of return, but historically is pretty safe as well. The U.S. bond, U.S. stock fund are managed by Vanguard, and so those are broad-based mutual fund type products. And then we have an international stock fund option as well that's managed by BlackRock. And so you can pick and choose how you want your funds set up in your account. You can set up when you do contributions in, you can say, hey, I want to go to these specific buckets. Money that's already in the account can only be moved twice per calendar year. So, for example, if let's say you're heavily in growth and then, hey, there's an expense I'm having 3 months down the road. Maybe I want to move some of that money over to the FDIC savings fund so it's not so volatile and I know I have that funds available, and then you can make the withdrawal. So new money in, you get to pick every time, but money that's already in can only be moved twice per calendar year. All right, now we're going to talk about distribution. So I like to spend the money. So if you're like me, you're like, all right, this is the time I get to pay attention the most, right? So how does that work? So money's in there, it's growing, you're saved. It's been a few months, and you're like, oh, I have an expense I want to utilize my ABLE account for. How do I get money out of it, and what are the rules for that? So the good news is you can take the money out anytime. There is no kind of, there's a hold time for it to clear. That's usually 5 to 10 business days. But after that, you can take the money in and out as you need. If you do ACH, it takes 2 to 3 business days. Our close of business is 4 o'clock, so keep that in mind. That's usually the fastest way is when you connect your bank to our account, you will withdraw back to that connected bank account. And you can have multiple bank accounts connected to the ABLE account as well. We also offer a prepaid card. That prepaid card is a reloadable debit card offered by TrueLink Financial. TrueLink has its own kind of system that manages that prepaid card. It is a reloadable card, so you have to kind of plan, okay, it's going to take 2 to 3 business days to load that money onto that card. But once it's on there, you can use it anywhere Visa is accepted. So kind of a unique way if you need to help somebody with, you don't want to give them the whole access to the ABLE account, but you want them to have some of their money and a more easier way to handle. Typically, we see individuals keep a regular bank account tied to their ABLE account and then chuck money over to it. Or they do a check request. So there's a way, you don't get a checkbook with our program, but you can go online and kind of do an online bill pay check request. And that check request will be sent to you or a third party. You get to specify where you want it to go, the amount. There's a memo line that you can add, any kind of information you need. You can even preview it, which is kind of cool. Now, it does take 5 to 7 business days, could take longer, and just depends on the USPS. We probably all have experiences of losing mail or where you order a package the same, like some of it gets there the next day and some of it takes like 3 days. And you're like, it came from the same place. I don't know why my package is like in town, then out of town, then back in town. Just me? Okay. But the good thing is those funds that you take out of the account, the earnings portion of it is tax free as long as you're using it for the benefit of that of the beneficiary on the account. And we call these types of expenses qualified disability expenses. And when we do make withdrawals, we always recommend keeping documentation, records, receipts. We are not going to ask for it, but the IRS might ask for it if you were to be audited. We do send tax documentation each year to the IRS. So if you make, when you open the account or when you make contributions, you'll get a 5498 QA. High level, that's a document that we tell the IRS, hey, this person established an account with Florida. Here's their account number. Here's the balance of the account. Here's why they're eligible. If you make a distribution from the account, you'll get a 1099 QA, and that 1099 QA will show you just the total amount of withdrawals you had and how much of it is earnings. It doesn't necessarily require you to file for taxes. You just need to keep documentation that, however much you had in withdrawals, you had that many qualified disability expenses. And once again, there's no taxes on that earning portion as long as you used it appropriately. So what can you use the account for? And it's very broad. Literally, the IRS said it's to be construed broadly. They said, broadly, but not limitless, right? Like, so you can't go out and start buying everybody luxury cars with your ABLE account. But you can buy yourself a luxury car. As you see, it's a qualified disability expense. So let's just tackle some of these big categories here because it is pretty broad. So health, right? So if we think of something that would benefit or help improve somebody's health, it could be anywhere from copays at doctors, maybe it could be getting a massage, maybe additional treatments or therapies that's not covered under regular health insurance, or even paying for health insurance. All that would be a qualified disability expense. Education is another broad one. It could be, back to school shopping. It could be buying books, tuition, after school tutoring, anything, online classes, higher education, whatever that is going to be education that's going to help benefit that individual. Housing is a big one. We see a lot of expenses in housing, and that can be mortgage, rent, property taxes, utilities. We see huge people, we see some people saving to put a down payment on their first home with an ABLE account, and that is allowable. Transportation also pretty broad, so not only can you put a down payment on a vehicle or make your car payment, but you can use it to fill up your car. And there's some individuals we see a lot of people using this for ride sharing services because it's making them more independent. It's allowing them to get out, and so Lyft, Uber, etc. That could be a qualified disability expenses. Legal fees is interesting, right? Because so at the end of the day, it has to somehow benefit the person with the disability. So maybe it's setting up a special needs trust or helping them start a small business, assistive technology and personnel support. So the only example the IRS gave us was somebody using a cell phone. That's a qualified disability expense. But it could be, tablets, computers, anything, a device that's going to make them able to communicate more. Or it could be personal supports, right? So if we think of somebody going on a vacation and needing that personal support, that could be an allowable expense. Or somebody, we've seen some people that utilize the funds in this account for their therapy dog, where they have a therapy dog that goes with them everywhere, and they use it to pay the vet bills and the food and all that kind of stuff because that animal is supporting that individual. So pretty cool. And this actually could even be used post death. We've seen a lot of people say, "Hey, I know funeral and burial costs going to come somewhere." So we work with organizations that are overseeing a lot of individuals' accounts, and they say, "Hey, we actually want to get to a certain level because we know how much funeral and burial is, and we want to be able to utilize their ABLE account to do that." And then finally, there's an other bucket. The Treasury hasn't given us any more examples outside of the cell phone. They just say, at the end of the day, it has to somehow relate to the person with the disability and it's helping improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life. So pretty amazing. And that's what I tell people at the end of the day, right? If you could justify it that like, hey, this is going to be, this is helping them to be more independent or it's maintaining their independence, that's going to be qualified. The most trickiness, I hear a lot of people questioning. Once again, I'm not an IRS consultant or a tax advisor. A lot of people get, when it's can I use this funds to put a down payment on the family house, right? That's something you might need to talk to a tax attorney, right? If it was their house, yes, but if it's one of those things, they need to probably talk to a tax attorney. Now, Alexandra asks, do they have to keep receipts of their purchase? It depends, right? So at the end of the year, the IRS is going to send you all the withdrawals you had for the whole year. They'll give you an entire amount. So let's say it's $2,000. You need to have $2,000 in documentation. It's not necessarily dollar for dollar. Now, somebody on Social Security SSI, if they're taking money out and sitting on it past the end of the month, Social Security may ask for receipts or documentations because if they're on SSI, they can't have more than 2,000. So if you took money out of your ABLE account and it puts you over that $2,000 threshold at the beginning of the month, they're going to say, "Hey, what are you using those ABLE funds you took out and deposited in your checking account?" So they may ask for documentation. But we always tell people, hey, just keep documentation, especially for the IRS. File it with your taxes. Nothing to report, but in case the IRS were to audit the individual, you could have that available. Any other questions on qualified disability expenses? Awesome. All right, we'll keep chugging along. We're doing great on time. So feel free to always interject when you want to. All right, so the goal, and as I mentioned before, we really want to make this the best value for Floridians, and that's why we don't have any free fees when it comes to enrollment, monthly maintenance fees, or even a check request fee. There is some investment administration fees. So, for example, if you were in our most riskiest options, like our money, our international stock options, you'd pay about 0.29% annualized on that. So $2.90 per $1,000 in the account. So just keep that in mind. The FDIC option doesn't have any of that those fees tied to it. There are some additional optional fees, and this is just a couple of the big ones. That's if you want paper statements to be mailed to you, that's $20 annually. Or if you want that prepaid card I mentioned, it does cost $2.50 per month. So just things to keep in mind. All right, so we talked high level, the big benefit, tax-free advantage, right? You put money in there, tax-free earnings. Who doesn't like free money? All right, we all like free money, hopefully. Some people may not like free money, I don't know. But the other really big advantage, and we see a lot of people utilize this account, is because it shelters this money. The money gets sheltered inside of an ABLE account so people can maintain their Medicaid and SSI and any other federally means tested benefit program eligibility. So high level Medicaid, it helps pay medical costs for certain individuals with limited income or resources. You know, individuals with a severe diagnosis or disability may qualify. It could be also individuals low income or elderly. We also have an I budget waiver and other home and community-based waivers that provide more robust services. The great thing is generally funds in the ABLE account or even taken out of it are disregarded when determining Medicaid eligibility. Now, the concern was because there is something called Medicaid recovery. People were very concerned that, hey, if I start putting money in all this ABLE account and I'm on Medicaid and I pass, does the state come and take all that money? So typically no. So we passed laws that says Medicaid cannot file a claim on an ABLE account. But what's to keep in mind, if it is a significant balance, you could use that fund to still pay outstanding qualified disability expenses, including funeral and burial. If there's still leftover money, then it would need to go to the beneficiary's estate. So the next of kin would need to open that up. Now, there is a way if somebody has a sibling who also qualifies for ABLE, they can list that individual as a successor designated beneficiary, but we see those limited. We're working with legal to see if there's a way to kind of broaden who could be that designated beneficiary, but we think there's going to be significant tax implications. So just keeping that in mind. Now, when it comes to the estate, it's no longer ABLE funds. So if they're over 55, they may be subject to Medicaid estate recovery. Laurel, you had a question?
Hi, yes, I have a question. If our loved one ends up living out of country, he's still able to use these funds as long as he's able to show, paper tracking, right?
Yeah, so as long as he maintains U.S. citizenship, because that is a requirement, they do have to be a U.S. citizen, have a TIN or social. Yeah, so they move out of the country, they can still utilize this account. Hope that answers your question. I'm going to say that's a yes. All right. Let's look at SSI because that's another big one when it comes to public benefit programs because SSI is a cash benefit that helps offset housing needs. To qualify it, especially when we talk about the disability, is usually severe enough to where they need that and they can't work. Typically, just like Medicaid, they look at how much money you're earning, how much money you have saved in the bank. ABLE account doesn't count towards that limit. except there are some rules. Social Security does look at these accounts monthly. We have to submit all program data to Social Security Administration so they know who's on SSI, who has an ABLE account. We encourage people, if they're on SSI and have an ABLE account, Google or go to this link to find out more about how ABLE accounts are treated by Social Security Administration. The big two rules when it comes to individuals on SSI is that the most they can have in this account before it does count as a resource is $100,000. So typically that's a $2,000 limit, but with an ABLE they can save up to $100,000. Anything above that will count towards that $2,000 limit. Also, when it comes to withdrawals, as long as you're using, take the money out, use it the same month, you're fine. It's if you take money out and you sit on it past the end of the month, if it's used for a housing or non-qualified expense, that will count as a resource as well. So we usually tell people, hey, if you're on SSI and you want to use your ABLE account to pay for housing, just have the ABLE account pay it directly. The other rule that Social Security Administration has is that if people are putting leftover Social Security funds in the ABLE account and they have a representative payee, then the representative payee needs to be the one to establish and maintain the ABLE account. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, individuals on SSDI or regular Social Security or survivor benefits, those don't have resource limits. So there is no rules when it comes to that since that's an earned benefit. This is specifically for individuals receiving SSI. All right, I talked way too fast. We're almost at the end. You guys have been wonderful in your questions here. I'm just checking real fast to see if there's any other QA. Awesome. All right, so let's just look at some frequently asked questions that we receive over the last 10 years. So just to give you a little preview of what's we've been up to for the last 10 years. So, this was before ABLE, this type of program or this idea of a savings and investment account that didn't impact public benefits really didn't exist outside of a special needs trust. And so through the end of last month, I believe we're close to about 16,000 people that have enrolled, about 155 million invested here in Florida. Nationwide, there's now 48 programs. Idaho just launched or is in the process of launching their program this year. And same with Guam, U.S. territory there. Guam is launching a ABLE program as well. Combined, I think we're at about 350,000 enrollments across the country and about $3 billion in assets under management across all the programs. So significant growth over the last 10 years just to see from not existing at all to seeing where we're at and seeing how it's continuing to grow with the age adjustment. So a lot of exciting things happening in ABLE. So let's dig into some frequently asked questions. We talked a little bit about what happens if the beneficiary passes away. I know this is grim. The number one question we receive is this person has this account. They can't have a successor designated beneficiary unless it's a sibling. What happens? You pay all outstanding expenses. So they had a cell phone bill, a mortgage, loans, or whatever the case is. They would pay all those off first. Then it would go to their estate, and it'd probably go through probate or something similar to that. So keep that in mind. And if they are over the age of 55 and on Medicaid at that time, the Medicaid could file a claim on their estate. And usually encourage people. The goal of this account is to help people achieve a better life experience. I used to joke and say it doesn't stand for asset building, leave it to your estate, because although you can do that, you really want to utilize this, and that's what the purpose is. I mentioned you could take this ABLE United account out of the state if you move out. You only have to be a Florida resident at the time you apply. We always encourage people to check that new states program. Some states have state income tax deductions. Florida doesn't have state income tax. And some other programs offer like a checking option if you want like an actual checkbook or something like that. And then once again, the qualified disability expenses, a lot of questions on that. The good thing is the IRS is like, hey, just keep good documents on why it's helping them improve their health, independence, or quality of life. And really, Social Security only cares if you're on SSI and you're retaining funds past the end of the month. So keep that in mind as well. All right. So, what questions? I'm going to leave our connect with us. So, if you haven't visited us before, check out our website. Ton of great resources on there, Spanish resources, a lot of things to download. So, I'm going to turn it back over to your team. I know there's several more questions, but however you guys want to go about answering those.
Thanks so much, John. That was a great presentation. You were obviously very practiced at giving it. So you just went right through it. We have a couple more questions in the chat. One is, how does this affect student loan repayment?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? And I don't know if they look at ABLE accounts as a resource for student loan repayment. Because I know it's usually for federally means tested programs. So I would have to know. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm not well versed enough on the student loan payback requirements to tell you if they would look at an ABLE account or not. Typically, for creditors, I know ABLE accounts are exempt. So that's going to have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. And the next question is, this is assuming this is FDIC insured.
So we do have an FDIC insured product. As I mentioned, we have up to 8 different options. One of them is an FDIC insured product. So if somebody's looking just to protect their principal, we can do that through that product.
Okay. All right. And then we have another one from Alexandra. So whatever monies they withdraw, if on SSI, they should use that money within a month, within 30 days, within that month.
So if they take money out of the ABLE account and say just put it back in a bank account, or they're sitting on it and they haven't expensed it yet, at the beginning of the next month, so let's say you took out money today, and then April rolls around, April 1st comes, and Social Security looks at your account and goes, hey, we saw that you have an extra $2,000 in your bank account that you took from your ABLE account. What are you going to use it for? If it's for housing or a non-qualified expense. So if you say, hey, I'm going to pay my utilities or my mortgage or my rent, then they're going to count that as a resource for the month of, in this situation, April. Or if you're going to use it for a non-qualified expense, like, hey, I'm going to hit up Hard Rock this afternoon, April 2nd. I'm going to blow it at the craps because, I don't know how that game works, but it sounds fun and it looks good on the movies. That's not going to be, they're not going to say that's a qualified expense, right? But if you're like, oh no, I'm saving this for upcoming surgery, I want to utilize this to put a down payment on a car, or something, another qualified expense that's not housing, then they should not count that towards the $2,000 resource limit. So that's where the SSI rules kind of come in. I've only known of one issue of somebody having where they were sitting on it for several months and Social Security was pestering them. But if you ever worked with Social Security, it depends on who you call, which office, and the time of day and how that person's feeling, because you may get a different answer. So, but that's typically how the rules. So you can keep it past the end of the month, but if it's for housing or non-qualified, then it will impact your SSI.
So let me ask you, I'm just trying to picture how this works. So is the IRS are they right on you? We saw you did a withdrawal 30 days ago and you haven't.
The Social Security office, yeah,
Security.
yeah, it's just Social Security for people on SSI.
Okay.
Now, what I've seen in the instances where they're having questions, it's usually during the look back period, like they do an annual assessment and go, oh, it's December. We saw back in March your bank account was over.
Okay.
And it looks like those funds came from AWOL. What is it, right? So they're usually not looking at the next month, but they could. So you just have to be weary. Hey, yeah, oh, I got away from it and Social Security never contacted me. When they do their annual review, they may contact you. So it's just keeping that in mind.
Yeah, I didn't think they could possibly be that on it.
No.
No,
I mean, there may
okay.
be some offices that might be more on it, but typically of the stories I've heard and the people I've talked to that they had to have some kind of discussion with Social Security, it's usually months or even like a year or two later where they'll be like, "Hey, what's going on? We saw you sat on some money from your Able account. What are you doing, or what did you do?" That kind of thing.
Right. Okay, so we have another question. I know some people prefer stock funds that only include certain companies for ethical reasons. For example, some people don't want to profit from loans and interest. Is that option available in this context?
That's a good quote. Yeah, we have not looked at any kind of social conscious type funds or anything like that. Because right now our funds are probably the ones that are actually invested, so our US stock, US bond, international, and even our money market. Those are very broad based, so they're invested in lots of companies that kind of mimic like the S&P 500 or the Russell 3000. So it's like lots of different companies. But right now we don't offer any type of specific companies or any kind of social conscious funds at this time.
Okay, and so I have a question as far as the changes that have happened, the age change and the disability, or what's defined as a disability. For the audience that we work with, these mental health conditions, they didn't list anxiety on there, but I'm sure that a diagnosis of acute or chronic anxiety would probably qualify also. So, I'm curious, and well, one, what prompted that change, and what prompted the age change, and what impact do you see that having?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, what's been very unique about Able compared to like the 529 college savings plan, because we get compared to them a lot, is that the Able has a lot of bipartisan support federally, because we know disability impacts both sides of the aisle, right? From a political standpoint, and so we have very strong advocates on both sides of the political spectrum, and they see that there's a lot of push, a grassroots movement. A lot of ABLE programs are pushing. As I mentioned, I think the ABLE Savings Plan Network, which I serve on, that comprises all the other ABLE programs. We have a lobbyist. We work with other big groups to saying how can we improve this? What are our customers saying? And so the age adjustment historically, when this first was being introduced, there was no age. And then the COB, the Congressional Office Budget, who kind of rates and scores bills on the impact it's going to have to the federal government, came out and said, I think it was like Able's going to cost the federal government $10 billion over the first 10 years, like some astronomical amount. And the reason why is they say, no, all these people on public benefits are going to be able to save all this money and keep their public benefits. And we knew it wasn't going to be true. And so they kind of bargained down to 26. So this made up number, it didn't really, it was enough to get the bill passed. And so now that it passed, we started pushing, hey, let's look at what the data shows. And then after the first 5, 6 years, they're like, hey, this hasn't been this huge influx of people, keeping their benefits and using an ABLE account. And so we started advocating to can we get that adjusted up? And so that was 46 is kind of where the next big leap was. We saw a lot of various mental illnesses and diagnosis, psychiatric disorders taking place in that age range. We had a lot of support from veterans with PTSD and some other ones. So, and even significant physical disabilities with veterans. They all kind of helped push this legislation too. So I think that was kind of what prompted it. And then the severity of the diagnosis of disability hasn't changed. So that's still based on the Social Security standard. I think what people are starting to understand more is that they don't necessarily have to be on SSI or SSDI to qualify. And what they do is we have a physician certificate on our website where they can take it to a doctor, their primary or whoever, and say, "Hey, doctor, look at this. my anxiety is crippling. It's significant. Could this qualify? And in some cases, it can. So if you looked on the IRS level, I mean, they even put ADHD as potentially somebody who could qualify for
Saw
ABLE
that.
account. So I think it's just the more of awareness and understanding of going, oh, I don't have to be on these public benefits. I just have to meet that severity, and then talking with a doctor to say, yes, you do, and having that. To my knowledge, the IRS hasn't audited anybody with an ABLE account. We talk about this on our monthly calls with all the other states and saying, "Hey, are you hearing anything? Have you heard of a customer saying, 'Hey, IRS dinged me and they came down on me hard?'" The unique thing about ABLE and about the IRS compared to Social Security is IRS is a little more disability friendly, and so I think they're not looking at ABLE accounts. There's not like rampant abuse happening with ABLE accounts. So I think that's part of the reason why they're not really focused on this program.
Okay, I think that's really interesting. Just we do hear a lot and see a lot of people and families who qualifying for SSI is often a long process, often a difficult process. And in the meantime, there needs to be other structure put in place to support that person. And so this change is really, it's really important, especially for the people that we serve at NAMI. And so I'm excited to hear about that. I think there's several people I want to share this information with. Hear the information that was shared, and specifically the questions that you asked, because if you're dealing with people who have mental health conditions, what we ask might be different from someone who is dealing with a different type of what's considered a disability. So really important, I think. So do we have any other questions from the group here? And we want to thank everyone for the great interaction that we've had tonight.
Thank you all so much. It's been you've been a great audience as well. Appreciate the interaction. Sometimes we'll do events and it's like cricket. So I appreciate everybody willing to unmute, show their face, say hi, drop a question in the chat box. So
We
always a pleasure.
Yeah, we never have a cricket crowd. That doesn't happen with our NAMI crowd. And I want to thank Eileen Pastana and Sofia Jimenez for the work that they've done to put this together on the NAMI team. They always do a phenomenal job. Okay, all right. That's interesting too, especially again for the people we serve. That's information that they might not be comfortable putting out there. So. Okay, if there's no more questions, we want to thank you again. Thanks, everyone. Share this information. I always say share it with 5 people you know that trust you, because that's how we help each other. And all right, good night, everyone. Good to see you all again.
Thank you all. Take care.